The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you can hear me okay. We're excited for today's webinar and we are going to get started. We are hosting this webinar modeling solar and energy storage projects in Utah alongside the Utah Solar Energy Association and ahead of SPI that's being held in Salt Lake City this year, which we are pretty excited about. We wanted to host this webinar exclusively tailored to Utah's solar and energy storage market because we believe there is a huge potential for storage in that market. This webinar is going to kind of be talking about where the market stands today, the policy and legislation that could affect the market, and what's changing for developers. We are going to go through some examples in Energy Toolbase as well, and how to accurately start modeling solar plus storage in Utah, and how our software handles Utah utilities and rate schedules. So quickly, our speakers today, we are going to keep this webinar short and sweet for you. Our speakers today include Ryan Evans, who is the Executive Director at UCEA, and Scott D'Ambrosio, the VP of Sales and Integration at Energy Toolbase. This webinar recording is going to be sent to everybody who registered at the end of the webinar, whether you attended or not, along with some links to join UCEA and Energy Toolbase. So before I hand it off to Ryan and Scott, I just do want to talk a bit about Energy Toolbase for maybe some of you on today who aren't users or who haven't used haven't attended one of our webinars before. ETB is a SaaS platform for modeling the economic analysis of solar and energy storage projects. Our platform, we currently have users in all 50 states modeling projects and internationally. Our customer base ranges from small residential developers to major corporations like Amazon and Samsung. And one thing that really makes our platform stand out from the others is that we have our own in-house utility rates team who maintains our extensive database of more than 50,000 active global rates in over 800 utility territories. And they also create unique custom rates for our users when needed. And that's good for new users in other markets that we aren't as familiar with, where we can create those rates for you. So with that introduction, I want to pass things over to Ryan Evans with UCEA.
Thank you, Tracy. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the webinar on modeling solar plus storage today. I want to thank Energy Toolbase for putting this webinar together and for providing their expertise in helping model solar plus storage in Utah. As a little background for those that do not know me or the Utah Solar Energy Association, I've been the president of the association for a little over 3 years now. I oversee operations, policy, and public relations, in addition to many other tasks associated with the solar industry and representing that industry in the state. The association itself is about a 9-year-old entity, but it was reborn about 3 years ago when I, along with several other Utah solar companies, actually relaunched the association in what its now present form to help represent the solar industry at the legislature, the Public Service Commission, and in public settings. The industry was growing, and it was important to have strong representation to ensure best possible policies and outcomes for our companies and customers in the state. It was really encouraging to actually see so many people sign up to learn more about this topic today. I will explain this in a little bit, and those of you know me well have heard me say this often, but I believe that storage will become an integral part of the solar market in Utah in the future. In the near future at that. We are still seeing the cost decline and the technology improve in storage. And while we may not want to utilize storage to be completely off-grid, we can use it to decrease the impact of export rates, utility rate changes, improve air quality, decrease line loss over transmission lines, and improve frequency response and demand response, amongst many other benefits that you are all aware of, in addition to, if nothing else, diversifying revenues for Utah solar companies. I think it's important for companies in this market to have more than one offering, and storage is certainly a great addition to offering solar for your residential and commercial customers. So with that, to start off, where are we now? I just want to shed a little background in terms of our rate schedule, where we're at, and why storage could be an important part of our market. As you all should be aware of, most of Utah customers in our Rocky Mountain Power customers, so that will be the focus of our discussion today in terms of rates and future rates. And as of November of 2017, we are now engaged what we are calling the transition rate schedule, where any solar customer that signs up for or that installs solar on their home or business will not be penalized for behind the meter consumption and will be compensated for their exports to the grid as a credit amount of about 90% of the retail rate for their particular rate schedule. They will have this rate guaranteed until the end of 2032, at which time they will become a part of the future rate schedule that is underway in terms of analysis at the Public Service Commission. As part of that current docket to develop a long-term rate schedule for Utah solar customers, we are currently in an information gathering phase with more formal deliberations to begin in January of 2020. We expect the docket to wrap up sometime next summer or early fall of 2020. That being said, and I think this is important to consider with storage, but some of the outcomes that I expect out of that docket, the public service docket, could be some of the following. And I say could be because I really don't know, but it's me reading tea leaves, me being a part of lots of discussions, and really listening to what other parties may or may not want to see happen as part of that docket. So the first is I feel fairly confident that behind the meter consumption will remain as it is, meaning unpenalized with all the energy being produced on top of a roof, being accessible to the owner of that structure to power the home or building while the sun is shining. I think you can expect to see a lower export rate than we currently have. This is for several reasons, including the feelings of regulators, the Public Service Commission, and the way that the dockets have been structured over the last years, leaving us in the current situation they're at and arguing terms of benefits to the grid and benefits to Utah. I don't know what that lower export rate might look like, but those of us involved are expecting it to drop somewhat. I think we're also going to see some arguments around possibly moving toward a time of export rate schedule, where exports in the early evening, for example, will be more valuable than in the middle of the day. But again, this is an unknown, but it's certainly a conversation that has come up several times with various parties in the docket. And then lastly, not that I don't have much information to share on this, but I think we're going to have a lot of conversation around the netting period. As you know, the current netting period is every 15 minutes. That's been distressing to lots of those of us involved, and we'd like to see that increased. I'm sure others in the docket would like to see it remain as is or even decreased. But there will be significant discussion around the export netting period. So this is why I think batteries will play a significant role in future solar installations. The ability to capture energy and use more of it behind the meter will help improve economics, and the ability to capture energy generated and sell it back when it's more valuable in terms of demand response could also be important. Not only more valuable to your customers, but also more valuable to a utility. Quite honestly, they would prefer to buy cheaper energy at peak design or peak demand. And to help accelerate the storage market, again, this is just a little bit more background here in Utah. The Utah Solar Energy Association introduced legislation last year to develop a $6.5 million grant program. This incentive did not pass, despite unanimous approval from the Senate and the bill clearing the House Public Utilities Committee. We simply, unfortunately, got hung up in the budget dispute last year, where millions of dollars were withheld from the budget while they worked on tax reform. I'm sure most of you are very familiar with that discussion, as it dominated the news during the session and beyond. To let you know, we will be introducing a similar program this year to, again, help decrease the cost of storage for our customers. And lastly, in terms of this intro discussion, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, But I would encourage you to go look up the announcements today for a new development called Soleil Lofts. That's spelled S-O-L-E-I-L. The Utah Solar Energy Association posted a link to a good article by Bloomberg, or was it Forbes? I believe it was Forbes actually, on our association Facebook page today. This development will incorporate approximately 5 megawatts of solar and 12.6 megawatt hours of storage capacity. And each of the, so this is in a luxury apartment complex of about 600 units. So in addition to that 5 megawatts of solar, every single apartment unit, residential unit, will have its own storage within the actual apartment. Rocky Mountain Power is a part of this development. They actually contracted and helped supply financing for the development because they want to control and possibly purchase the energy from those residents at peak demand. So again, helping them with demand response and transmission fluctuation and frequency. So again, I encourage you to go look that up. And solely because it is a groundbreaking project for Utah, and if nothing else, it should really help to further open the eyes of people in Utah as to the benefits that storage can bring, not only to our state, but right to the Wasatch Front, where we do continually have our fair share of air quality issues. And this is certainly one way that solar and storage together can help offset that critical issue for the state of Utah. So with that, I'm going to turn the time over to Scott.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And let me get the screen share going on here. One, I just want to start off in thanking Ryan, thanking Tracy for setting this up, and thanking you guys. We understand you have busy schedules, so really appreciate your time. So my goal here today is to walk you through a light demo of Energy Toolbase. We are an industry leader in modeling solar plus storage projects. I'm not going to take too much of your time. I'm going to lightly introduce Energy Toolbase. If anybody's interested in specific questions or specific scenarios that you might have on how Energy Toolbase might handle, my email is super simple, scott@energytoolbase.com. Once again, Energy Toolbase is a cloud-based proposal platform specializing in the economics behind the meter solar plus storage projects. All right, I'm going to get into it. And just to make sure here, you're looking at Energy Toolbase. So if you've never seen it before, when you walk through the front door, this is called our dashboard, our main landing page of our application. You'll see recent proposals I'm currently working on in the middle of the screen here. Above there, you'll see leads broken down into different buckets, light CRM capabilities. Above here, a couple buttons that help you navigate through the platform. So if you ever get lost, that dashboard button to the left gets you back to the screen here. Now we have two different categories here, create and view. You can create leads, proposals, incentives, rate schedules, transactions, and documents all from scratch. Or you could view all the same categories. The difference is when you view them, you could copy existing ones and edit for how you see fit, and create, you're just creating them from scratch. So this is giving you a lot of flexibility to be able to customize your Energy Toolbase account for your needs. Just one example of how you might want to use this is maybe you want to view one of our document templates. You could copy that and edit it for your logos, your pictures, your text, different things like that. To the right here, a little search bar that helps you navigate quickly and easily through our platform. To the right here, this gets you into your company settings, so some back-end settings, customization of the account. Underneath here, you'll see quick links. This gets you into our wonderful help center, tons of knowledge-based content, video tutorials, frequently asked questions, ongoing education and support for our user base. So we'll do different webinars like this one, but we'll also do webinars through the week about specific subjects like new user training. We do energy storage training, and we do a utility rates webinar series where one of our utility specialists picks a geographic area, talk about the rate composition in that area, and then we'll also talk about how that affects avoided cost. Underneath here, you'll see what's new with Energy Toolbase. So here's our newsletter, any blogs that we're uploading. All right, just for time's sake, I'm going to lightly walk you through creating a proposal in Energy Toolbase. And we do have a little time for Q&A at the end. So if you have some questions, please shoot them over. If we don't get to them on the webinar, we'll definitely contact you after the webinar. So I just walked into a pre-existing lead here. Creating a lead at Energy Toolbase, you would simply come up here, go to create lead. First thing that's going to come up is this lead information. This is basic information. So I'm going to do a commercial example here, just so you know, Energy Toolbase, it's the same process if it's residential or commercial. We started off in the commercial front. Energy Toolbase really thrives in the complexity, but we're growing in the residential market as it's not back of the napkin math anymore. One thing Ryan was mentioning was the net metering, right? So no longer is it back of the napkin math. There's different values from when you're importing to exporting energy. So we're increasing our residential share as well. All right, so in here, basic information, company name, we got a client's name, we got a phone number, just simple information here. The next thing you do here at Energy Toolbase, you'll see this word facility. And facility represents a meter here to us at Energy Toolbase. So in case you had a commercial opportunity with multiple meters, you would have multiple facilities. And under each facility, we have this vernacular called add energy use profile. This is our wording to recreate somebody's energy bill. Now we give you multiple different ways to do this depending on the information you're collecting for your client. I'm going to work left to right here. Monthly electric bills, when you go through this door, you're transferring hard bills, what's the information on the hard bills, into Energy Toolbase. And these next three options to the right are talking about different ways to import interval data. And if you're not familiar with interval data, it's a granular look how somebody uses energy. It comes in different timestamps, different units, and depending on how you're importing that, you'll have those options here at Energy Toolbase. So spreadsheet interval data, this is like an Excel spreadsheet. This comes in multi-com or single com. So when you go through here, you could see different selectable units, different intervals, different start dates, and this is called multi-com. Multi-com goes horizontally across the screen, and then single com goes as well. And if you're not familiar with interval data, this is something where you can gather from the utility, a third party, or even your client maybe can download it themselves from their own utility portal. So this is what multi-com data would look like, and this is simply just a copy and paste to us here at Energy Toolbase. So just to kind of show you how quick and easy it is to do different things like this in Energy Toolbase, you simply just come in here, you come in here and hit paste and just hit import. So that's modeling how you bring in multi-com interval data. We do accept green button data, which is just XML form or CSV form. And then utility API, this is a company completely outside of Energy Toolbase. It's a third party, and just to paraphrase who they are, they're a data fetching service and makes your life easier accessing that interval data or bills for your client. So just another way, I just want to demo. So let's say you went to the utility and they gave you an XML file, super simple. You come in Energy Toolbase, you choose that file, you hit import. And I'm going to go over what happens when you have monthly electric bills as well. So once we import that data, we give it a profile name. I'm going to call it XML. You're going to see the utility drop down here. So here are the utilities in our database currently today. Tracy did mention we have in-house utility team does make us unique, and they're accessible in case you had specific rate schedule questions. We definitely love building relationships with our clients. So that is one of the benefits of Energy Toolbase. And if you're missing the utility or you're missing a rate schedule, simply just let us know. It's a 24 to 40 hour turnaround to upload that in our system. So let's go ahead here and go to Rocky Mountain Power. Once we choose the utility, you're going to see a drop down of the current rate schedules in our system. So once you choose the rate schedule, I'm just going to choose a common commercial rate schedule. Let's say rate schedule 6. Notice what happens here. We instantly recreate your client's energy bill. You'll notice energy charges as well as demand charges. To the right there, these are in dollar values. You can see non-volumetric charges, energy charges, which are your kWh, your demand charges to get a monthly total. You can see here we get an annual total as well. Now, there could be sub-attributes that affect your rate schedules. Those will be noted to the right. One thing we love here at Energy Toolbase is transparency. So we'll let you know, effective date is letting you know the last time there was a tariff change. So 8/1/2019 is the last time Rocky Mountain Power has updated rate schedule 6. Our utility team is noting that for you. So you could reference historical tariffs. You could reference the most recent tariff if you would like. One thing, again, with transparency is show rate schedule details. So one thing we pride ourselves at Energy Toolbase is trying to remove the black box, and especially when it comes down to storage. A lot of you guys are solar developers getting into storage, so our goal is to help you understand the back end of modeling storage and avoiding costs. So in here, first thing is understanding the rate schedule. So we give you a little summary of the rate schedule. We break down the seasons and the time periods. We break down the fixed charges. So you could see here, fixed charges, non-volumetric. We break down the energy charges on this rate schedule. So you could see different seasons, different charges associated with those. Okay, and then you could see above here, demand charges broken down for you as well. So this is recreating your client's energy bill, bringing in interval data. So a lot of times you can't get interval data. So what happens in the absence of interval data? So let's go back to the screen here where we're choosing how we were going to recreate our client's energy bill. And we're going to go through the monthly electric bill door. So you would just go right off the bill, right? What was my energy usage for that time period? Well, what was my max demand? And you can see once you start entering that information, it'll start recreating your client's energy bill and charges. Now I am going to cheat for a second and copy and paste from that data that I used before. Now, this is a key feature, right? When we talk about storage, when we talk about accurately modeling avoided costs, we need to understand, even though you have monthly electric bills, we need to understand how your client is using energy. There's different values between reducing imports and exporting energy. We created this ETB load profiler. Now, what we're doing is taking your monthly inputs, and we have a drop-down menu how your client is using energy. So when I choose non-residential here, we have 3 different options: residential, non-residential, and reference my own interval data set. When I choose non-residential here, we're tapping into the Department of Energy OpenEI to collect interval data sets based on geographic location. So when I choose a medium office building, our algorithm is now taking your monthly inputs and morphing that into 15-minute data. So you can see weekdays here, weekends, those probably drop off because they have nice bosses, right? So you can see what happens. Summertime, that kicks up a little bit. On the weekends, those drop off because I am at a office building. Well, what happens if it is a mid-rise apartment? I expect to see a completely different load curve. If you could think about why this is important, how you could see on a 15-minute basis how this client is using energy. They're coming home at night and spiking. And your third option here is reference my own interval data set. So as you get a little length of time within Energy Toolbase, you're actually building your own library. Every time you bring in an interval data set, you're creating this library. So I could say, hey, this is a cold storage facility, right? And you can see what happens here, different load profiles, tweaking that based off your monthly inputs. So pretty cool, recreating your client's energy bill using monthly data, but we're morphing it into a representative interval data set. We'll always let you know it's more accurate to get actual interval data, but in absence of that, this is your next best option. Lastly here is metering details. So this is an important input. This is also a trigger to our storage algorithm. As you come in here, we're going to set the metering details. So since we do operate in all 50 states, we've tried to create our platform flexible to be interoperable in any state that you're modeling and soon to be any country. So we're super excited about this huge update that we're working on. Should be out to 4 to 6 weeks, and that is going to allow us to launch our platform internationally. All right, so in here, back to net metering. So we're saying, hey, what is the value of exported energy? Is it full retail? Is it retail with non-bypassable charges? This is kind of really coined as NEM 2.0 in California, where a certain portion is non-bypassable, or is there no net metering? And every exported energy I have a certain value for. So Ryan was nice enough to kind of send me this little cheat sheet here. And you could see for rate schedule 6, my value is 3.4. And another thing to note here is Energy Toolbase is basing this off of 15 minutes as well. So you're just going to type in what is that value, and you're going to go ahead, hit X, and you're going to go ahead and hit save. Now we're done. So that is probably the most complicated part of Energy Toolbase, is recreating your client's energy bill, making sure that is accurate. After we do that here, we walk through a 7-step progression to create a beautiful, accurate looking proposal. I know I'm keeping a brisk speed here, but if anybody does have any follow-up questions, scott@energytoolbase.com. So step 1, general information. This is where we give it a proposal name. We talk about, we have the flexibility to show before or after tax. Typically residential, you're going to show before tax. Commercially, you could show before or after tax. This is going to consider the tax consequences on the cash flow. So for example, maybe your electric bill savings. A client was paying $100,000. Right now, we're going to save them $100,000. Well, that used to be an operational expense you used to be able to write off. An after-tax proposal will treat that as on the cash flow as increasing your tax liability on your federal and state level. So a lot of flexibility, a lot of different levers here in Energy Toolbase to really model how you see fit. I'm going to leave this an after-tax proposal. In this example, I got one facility. To the right here, you'll see sector. So is it residential, municipal, nonprofit? Are they taxable? What is the federal and state tax rate you want to assume? Discount rate, this is just an input in net present value. And then what is the assumption of electricity escalation? I'm going to go ahead and use 3%. Right. Step 2, this is our ability to do rate switch analysis. So this is super important and going to give you a lot of flexibility to run different scenarios to present and coach your client on what they should be doing post solar or post storage. So our client here is currently on rate schedule 6. I want to see, does it make sense to move them to a different rate schedule? So I'm going to model using rate schedule 6B. And once again, I've set the metering configuration to tell me the exported energy is worth 3 cents and change. So step 2, our ability to do rate switch analysis, going from one rate schedule to another. All right, step 3 is incentives. Applicable incentives based on your sector and zip code will appear here. It's simply just a checkbox. So check and include which incentives you like in this analysis. So just so you know, in this example here, I'm including the 100% bonus depreciation. I have the current ITC. I have state depreciation. I have the Utah Renewable Energy Tax Credit. To the right here, I'm including some storage incentives as well. But once again, remember when we started Create tab, you can actually create your own incentives. So maybe you want to anticipate what that storage incentive that Ryan was talking about. You can create it yourselves. We can create incentives for you if we have the proper information. So we're here to help you. We have a whole database you could pull from. So for example, search the word Utah, search the word maybe REAP grant. So different things, a whole database you can pull from. All right, step 4, PV array. When you come here for the first time, Energy Toolbase is interoperable with any solar production calculator you might be using today. Currently, we have an API with PV Watts. We have a direct integration with our friends at Helioscope, but once again, we are Switzerland. You could use anybody you want. They all produce 8760 data. It is a copy and paste, and we'll use that for the solar generation. Just to demo how a Helioscope integration looks, you click through the Helioscope integration. This is my Helioscope account. I'd simply just choose the project I built in Helioscope, click here, it'd actually bring in the design, all the information tied to the system right into Energy Toolbase. For today's purposes though, I am gonna choose PV Watch just to keep it simple, very common. So I'm gonna go through this door. The next option in PV Watts is team-wide data I want to use. So I'm going to use the recommended one. You could do simple or detailed PV arrays in Energy Toolbase. That is just defining equipment or using generic equipment. So simple is going to say, hey, standard premium or thin film. Detailed is going to allow you to choose specific equipment. Now, this list here is set up in your company settings. This is our bridge list here. You can see only one. This is our default account. The idea is there's an admin when you create an account with Energy Toolbase, and they're loading acceptable equipment for the sales team to use. Last thing you want is a new sales rep including equipment within proposals you can't even get your hands on. All right, so maybe you know the system size. That's great. Go ahead and enter it, but maybe you don't. And we have this nifty little button called our ETB optimizer. Now, what we're going to do is run a simulation of 10 different system size. We're considering your client's current energy use profile, we're considering the rate schedule, and we're considering the metering configuration. And you can notice here, I'm bringing your attention to total electric bill savings. On the y-axis, you'll see annual savings in dollars, and underneath here, you'll see system size in kW. Now, there's a lot of information on these charts. Total electric bill savings is encompassing fixed, energy, and demand charges. So when you hover your mouse over, there's 10 different plot points here. It is a 10% offset all the way to 100% offset of your client's annual usage. So we would max this client out at 109.4 kW. You can see the avoided cost on here. Also with some key information, what is the rate switch worth to us as well? Sometimes, depending on the rate schedule and your load profile, there might be a definitive drop off or diminishing returns, and you can actually zoom in here and let go, and it's going to do a narrow range now of 10 system sizes, what I just hovered my mouse over. You could also optimize just for energy savings, just for blended savings, or just for demand savings. So different ways you can use this optimization here. So in this example here, I'm just going to go ahead and just use a 102 kW. And since we're using detailed equipment, notice it automatically quantifies the panels and inverters I need to achieve that system size. We do some bid estimation based off your company settings, but you can just override this price at any point in time and say, hey, I'm going to charge the client this. All right, this is our PV step. Next is storage. Wow, we're here today. So when we come into step 5 here, energy storage. I'm going to go ahead and delete this for 1 second and pretend we're coming here for the first time. As we go through here, you'll notice a couple different options to run storage simulations. You'll see energy toolbases, and then you'll see some of our public integration partners. Okay, now the difference is when you go through Energy Toolbase's door, we give you all these different levers and inputs that affect your battery behavior and discharge and charge strategy. Now, when you walk through one of our integrated partners door, it is a very simplistic experience. These companies have already preset and pre-validated the inputs and algorithms within Energy Toolbase to give you realistic results of what's achievable in the field using said equipment, using said company. So we got some of the leaders up here. I was hoping we had our 4th one today, but that got delayed a little bit. So we got another huge announcement with our next integration partner coming public as well. Look forward to that. So let's go through ETB Store. When we come through here, you'll see simple and detailed. Once again, defining equipment or not defining equipment. Underneath here, you're going to go ahead and see control settings. And you could see different things like peak shaving, time arbitrage. So you get stack strategy. So you're choosing your control setting in here. And as you open this up here, there's a couple different levers that affect your battery behavior. Like, hey, do I want to target TOU demand periods? Do I not want to target TOU demand periods? Do I want to stack it with time arbitrage or self-consumption? Do I want to export storage to the grid? A lot of flexibility within here. You could define your equipment if you wanted to. And once again, you can run an optimizer. And what we're doing now is running a simulation here of 10 different battery sizes, considering everything we've done before this as well. So this does have the PV consideration already to it. When you use generic equipment, we default to an hour battery, but you just use the slider will increase the duration of the battery. Once again, I'm going to bring your attention to total electric bill and savings. And you can see here a 1 hour battery, 7.1 kW. This is the incremental savings that storage is bringing to the table. And you can see as I increase my system size, you start flattening off a little bit. So you can start optimizing where you want to be for your client. You can see the incremental savings that storage is bringing to the table. And in here, I'm going to go ahead and say, hey, we have a 2 hour battery. Now, let's see the storage simulation change. I should be able to see that here. Now it's a 7.1 to a 14.2 kWh. And you can see it start flattening off somewhere around here. So you could see I'm getting $500 more of savings from increasing the system size around 14 to 15 kW. I'm going to stick right here. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And just to kind of present this really quickly here, you can walk through one of our integrated partners right here, AMS, STEM, and SunPower, just to show you what that experience looks like. You would simply click through here. It would be a drop-down menu of the equipment they offer, and that's it. So super simple experience, just going to show you walking through here, boom. And then if I was going to walk through the STEM's door as well, so you could simply see how easy it is to model energy storage through our integrated partners. All right, so let's keep moving here. Transactions. Last is how you want to present financing for this client. So as you come in here, we have customizable transactions, and really you can we can help you, or you can create it yourselves, but you can model 4 different transactions side by side. So I can do a cash purchase here, and maybe the cash flow term on this one's 15 years I want to show, right? Maybe I'm unsure what the metering might be. Dollar per kWh. Okay, or maybe now I want to model this next to a 30-year cash flow. So a lot of flexibility. You could use these transactions in multiple different ways. And then you can model this maybe next to a loan or a lease or a PPA, different things like that. So I'm going to go ahead here and maybe model this next to a traditional loan, XYZ loan. All right, and just towards the end here of the demo, I'm going to go ahead and say interest is deductible and hit save. And let's go back to our documents here. And I'm going to go view all documents. So once again, we allow you to pick and choose how you want to present this information. You could really customize document templates for geographic location, types of projects, certain sales reps. So this is just our stock cover page. Once again, this is your logo, your pictures, your text. You can embed new pages in here if you wanted to. First thing it comes to is a project summary. So financial highlights, side-by-side analysis of your different financial options. Next is project system details. You're going to see the cost of the system minus any incentives. What is the consumption mix you're getting from solar to the utility? We have a nice little storage page. What is the cost minus any incentives you might be doing? The utilization of the battery. Nice little graph here of demand savings broken down by month. Rebates and incentives page, but really this is the meat and potatoes. We got a client here and they're currently on rate schedule 6. They're paying around $26,000 a year. Well, guess what? The majority of that is demand charges. Well, we're going to run a simulation here, and post-project bill, if they stayed on rate schedule 6, we're able to get their bill down to $13,450 and really cut into that demand around $8 grand. Well, you know what? We were considering a rate switch here, and there's slightly better savings, almost $1,000 switching to rate schedule B, for a total avoided cost here of $13,624. Now this flows through their cash flow or how you're financing it. So you could see here with their 15-year. Here's my project cost, here's my savings. This is an after-tax proposal. So here is my longer cash flow, and you can see I have a longer payback here because I included replacement cost of the storage system, which is pretty high at 95 grand. So a lot of flexibility within O&M, equipment replacement, different things here. But look at my loan option. Well, my loan option on cash flow positive year 0. So a lot of flexibility, a lot of power being able to present different financial options. And lastly, we do detailed cash flow analysis. So in case somebody wanted to take a look at line by line of how that changes and affects your tax liability. And then lastly, just want to show you a couple things really quickly here is our ETB Analytics. So you could come in here, you could take a look at savings before storage, but after PV, and then what happens when you add storage on top of it. You could see different things like information or your storage performance or imports or exports, tons of information here. But where I'm trying to go is demand profile visualization. It's so powerful to understand visually how your client is using energy. So let me just unpack this for a second. I zoomed into 2 days here. Just to be clear with everybody, right? We have our current energy use profile. This is how this particular client is using energy on a 15-minute basis, and we're overlaying this on top of the utility charges. We could throw energy charges in here as well if you wanted to. So if there was some time of use charges, that would be noted in here as well. And what we're doing in the back end is we're overlaying your solar production. We're overlaying our battery strategy to calculate what is the net profile. And we do this for all 365 days, which is pretty cool, just to understand visually how these things are operating. And I had a conservative utilization mark, so you could see our battery just discharging to cut those peaks of non-coincidental demand. So a lot of flexibility in here. I'm gonna go ahead and just leave it there. That's a high-level overview of what Energy Toolbase can do. Once again, if you're interested in really exploring all the features and capabilities, my email is scott@energytoolbase.com. We offer free trials. We offer one-on-one demos where you don't even have to sign up for. So please, if storage is the future, guys. If you're not modeling storage today, you will be in the future. I say get a jump start it, start understanding it today, because it is slightly different sale, right? You need to understand what's happening to be able to convey that to your customer. So I'm gonna pass it to Ryan now to finish up.
All right, thank you, Scott. I appreciate all of that knowledge that you just shared. Clearly, valuable information, and hopefully people, as you said, they're starting to look at this, whether they're offering storage now as a part of their business model. Hopefully they will be in the near future. To wrap up at least the presentation portion of this webinar, before we answer any questions, if there are questions, and we'll leave that to Tracy. I just wanted to remind everybody that Solar Power International SPI will be here in Salt Lake City at the Salt Palace the 23rd through the 26th of September. This incorporates not only Solar Power International that you all know well, but also Energy Storage International, Smart Energy Marketplace and Microgrid. There's also a hydrogen fuel cell component as well as electric vehicle components. So there is, this is the largest energy trade show in the United States. We expect approximately 19,000 people to descend upon the Salt Palace for that conference. We will have over 700 exhibitors, and if you have not had the chance to attend SPI, this is a great opportunity to do so since it's in our backyard. There are typically two options for attendees, either a full conference attendee, which includes not only the showroom floor, but also a host, and I would say hundreds probably, of seminars and panels and discussions that are in addition to the showroom floor. And then there's a showroom floor expo only pass, which is available. And if nothing else, I think that is definitely worth doing to see how big a business and how big an industry this truly is at this point in terms of solar storage and everything else that goes into this show. If you are interested in a discount, which most people should be, the Utah Solar Energy Association does have a discount of 15% on full conference passes. I do not have a discount on floor passes, the expo hall pass, but I do have a good 15%er on the full conference sign up. So if you're interested in that, please email me at revans, R-E-V-A-N-S, at utsolar.org, revans at utsolar.org. And with that, I'll turn it back to Tracy.
Okay, cool. We had a few questions. We're kind of coming up to the top of the hour. We don't want to take too much of your time, but I wanted to pass this one to you, Ryan, talking about the membership with UCEA and what are the advantages and for developers by joining.
Well, thank you very much for that question. The membership in the association is something that can be determined by the amount of involvement a company would like. So we have memberships starting at $1,000 all the way up to $10,000 for solar companies. And this is anything solar related. If you're in the industry, we want to have you involved in this association. There are some 60 companies in the state of Utah and beyond that are members of the association currently. Membership gives you the ability to have a seat at the table when we talk about solar policy, solar marketing, and the solar industry in general in the state of Utah. In addition to certain exclusive opportunities and learning opportunities such as this. This webinar today was obviously available to Utah Solar Energy Association members as well as Energy Toolbase customers. But we do lots of these type of sessions throughout the course of the year. We have other interactive opportunities for you to participate and again have a seat at the table in determining how solar can look in the state of Utah in the future.
Awesome, thank you. And the next one was talking about incentives, and I'll probably give this one to you, Scott. Can Utah incentives, custom incentives be configured within Energy Toolbase along with custom rate schedules?
All right, I was on mute there. A great question. You can absolutely customize incentives. You could also customize your own rate schedules here at Energy Toolbase, but you do have the option where one of our specialists will create the rate schedule for you. And I think it's a great idea as these storage incentives start to roll out is start modeling that to see the effects, and you could see the value that's going to bring to the table, and maybe that gets your client over the hump. So yes, absolutely, you could do both those, Tracy.
Okay, and then another one is if we're a developer who is just getting into storage, is there like onboarding storage trainings that can be provided by ETB?
Great question. So one, Energy Toolbase I know can seem complex, right? And one of the things we do is try to provide as much support and service as you need to get you over the initial learning curve. So we do give you dedicated account managers, so one-on-one support. They'll be checking in with you, and you literally have their cell phone to call them. So it's not a chat box, it's not a hotline, it's a person. We have video tutorials. We have specific webinars about energy storage and how to model it. So you'll have all the support you need to become a storage expert within our platform.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I'm going to probably end it here just because we've kind of gone over what we said we would. But again, I do want to thank you all for being on with us, as well as Scott and Ryan. We did mention earlier that 30-day free trial. So be on the lookout for an email from us after this webinar with that link and also some links to UCEA. And a convenient part about that 30 days is that will lead you right up to SPI. So if you do have any questions about your account or anything, you can meet us at booth 3427 at the conference and we can talk with you about that. But we're really looking forward to SPI this year and we hope that we can see you all there. And again, thank you all for joining us. So we hope you guys have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.